Okay, so hi, this is,
Hello.
hi, how's it going?
Oh, it's very good.
Hi,
Just
well,
hanging out, talking with you.
yeah, well, today, Le Noyau and Seven Nations Farm, which is a new farm that is set up between myself, Chapreen Baldo, yourself, Fred Wiseman, and Stephen McComber from Ganawagi. We are really excited to talk to Fred today about his experiences or knowledge on food security and food sovereignty based on some of the plants that he's looking at. So I kind of just wanted to, this short little podcast, we could talk about what are some of the work that you're doing with seeds that come from this region and how you see their influence on helping with food shortage, global warming, and food security.
Wow, that's a long, complex question. I think that I'd like to just start with the issue of food sovereignty, food security first, to kind of give it some context. Native people have had their land taken from them. They've had their children, of course, with the residential schools. Have had their spirit taken from them, of course, with the New Age movement, things like that. And it seems as though since 60% of all of the nutrition that exists in the world today is based on indigenous Native American crops, it seems as though Native people have lost control over their ancient crops. And so the idea of food sovereignty, which arose back in the late 80s, early 90s, at least out west that I'm familiar with, the idea that indigenous people need to seize control of their seed, of their agriculture, so that they are basically independent. And so food sovereignty means that you get control over your means of production, which then leads to the issue of food security. If you are growing your old crops, doing it the old way, these crops have been raised in your area for thousands of years, and therefore they're highly adapted to your climate, your soil situations, and so therefore they're also raised in traditional ways that you've raised them. So these old partnerships between humans and their plants have existed for a long time, and so that, well, at least in theory, will give you security. So food sovereignty leads to food security since you're using your crops that have been there forever. And so what I've been interested in, I got into this, the food and seed sovereignty, basically from a scientific perspective, but I very quickly learned that other nations, Abenaki nations such as the Penobscots and Passamaquoddies, and now the Abenakis are in the throes of trying to get control of their own crops and their own cropping systems. And so,
what does that mean, to get control of them?
They want to raise indigenous Abenaki crops, and they want to learn how they were raised in the past so they can do it again.
Okay.
And so as people heard about Seeds of Renewal and the work that I'm doing, people have got in touch with me, and so Seeds of Renewal was set up basically as a system to reinvigorate agriculture in indigenous Abenaki communities. And this includes seed as I think I've told you in the past. We probably are looking at maybe 38 to 40 specific varieties now that were either grown aboriginally here or were developed in the Abenaki area in the last couple hundred years. So all of these are now being propagated, and we're making the seed of these available to indigenous groups throughout the Abenaki area. Along with that, I do workshops as well on agricultural technology. In other words, how to plant them. I do one on agricultural ceremony with complete instructions for all the dances and how to make the regalia, because many of these tribes have lost these and only have the vaguest memory of, for example, the sun dance or the rain dance or the green corn ceremony. So they are able to use that information, as well as I do another workshop on cuisine. In other words, how to store and prepare this stuff to eat. And so Seeds of Renewal does not just deal with seeds, it deals with the whole agricultural system. And it's been a lot of research. It's been probably 8 to 9 years of research to be able to flesh this thing out. But that's what I've been doing. I've been to teaching this to the Passamaquoddies and the Penobscots and Abenakis. Oh gosh, and just about and the 4 Abenaki bands here in Vermont. At this point, I'm beginning now to reach out and share kind of the non-proprietary aspects of this with Euro-Americans such as yourself, and through the different programs that we've done up there.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the importance of that, you mentioned climate change. The importance of this is, of course, these crops have been in this area, either them or their direct ancestors, for at least 1,000, maybe 1,500 years. So, therefore, they've been through the medieval warming period, when it was 3 degrees warmer than it is today, through the climatic optimum, when it is about 5 degrees warmer than today, through the Little Ice Age, when it was about 3 degrees colder than it is today. So these crops here will grow every place, basically from probably Nova Scotia or maybe even Newfoundland all the way down into Georgia. And so they're very climatically robust.
And have you done work on growing a lot of these things out? And do you have like success stories that you would be interested in sharing with us?
But Anna is
here.
Oh, wait a minute. She already bought it. Oh, okay. So we can continue then. So I guess we have a dishwasher.
Yay, dishwashers!
Yay. Okay. All right. So could you ask that question?
So do you have experiences where you've taken these seeds back into the soil and had success with them? On like some of your experiences, success and failures, and what are the things that you see projected into the future for this work that you're doing?
Okay. Well, I really haven't had any real failures with any seeds. There's one variety from Maine. It's called the Marfax bean that grows very well over in Maine. You can go over and buy 5-pound bags of it over there. But for some reason, I've tried it, and several other people, including my colleague Peggy Fullerton over in New Hampshire, it doesn't seem to grow very well here. So that's basically the only kind of semi-failure. I mean, we get enough to keep the seed line going, but not enough to make a huge pot of baked beans.
Mm.
Everything else has been growing very fine. So, for example, right now, what I'm doing is, thanks to your help and also Veronique Hamels, who has been able to get new seeds for me this year, I am teaching a course in ethnobotany at the Vermont Center for Integrative Herbalism in Montpelier, and many of my 42 students are avid gardeners, and I am going to give them some of these seeds to grow them out for. So we'll take, for example, one of the seed packets that you gave me had 20 seeds in it. So I'm dividing that up. I'm sending most of them, half to Peggy, a third to Peggy, a third I'm keeping, and then I'm sending a third to these students to grow out.
Mm-hmm.
And they have to sign actually a contract that they won't be keeping them. They'll give me all the seed they get back.
Mhm. And so relationships like that have been created. I remember you mentioning you met, or you had already known her, but that you had a more formal opportunity to meet with Nicole Abomsawin, and something really wonderful came out of that. That the gardening relationship started to bloom, not to use any puns, but do you want to share a bit about your new friendship with the Odanak community here in Quebec?
Okay. Well, I've known Nicole Abomsawin, since probably 1992, 1993.
Oh, okay.
So she's a very old colleague, and I worked with her very closely back around 2003, 2004, when we did a Seven Nations exhibit at the Odanak Museum. But I've been working not with her, but with the kind of their environment, the Grand Council of the Abenaki, which is both Odanak and Wolanak. Their scientific organization. They're the ones that invited me up, and I gave them some seeds and did workshops on teaching them, the agricultural systems.
Mm.
And that was just this last spring. And so they've put all the crops in, and they were very generous. They paid my way, paid for my food and lodging and everything. So it was great. So we had a really good time. I'm hoping, to get up there in the next month or so. They're going to be planting, I think, at the end of May, early June. So I'd like to see, how they plant and how the stuff is coming up.
That's really it's an exciting relationship, and this is the relationship that you had before the friendship you had with Nicole was more of an academic, but now there's a development on a sort of more agricultural side.
Right. Yep. I don't really, talk to Nicole a whole lot anymore. I just say hi to her and stuff like that because I'm involved in agriculture, and of course her interests and stuff are in dance and song and story and things like that.
Mm-hmm. And women supporting him and sharing women's experiences, and
right.
So I'm really excited to just think about the potential of like Indigenous seeds and their role in really helping feed people in local settings. And I can't imagine the progress that we could make in our agriculture if we took that a little bit more seriously.
Right.
Just
now, one of the things that just to break in that it's not just Native people. For example, just this year. Well, let me back up a little bit. I've in all my seed collecting that I've done, the eastern townships of Quebec, the South Shore of the St. Lawrence has been a terra incognita. I haven't been able to find anything. Just in the last year or so, I've been able to find through maybe 4 or 5 sources, and you helped me with some of these, a whole series of seeds that are right from the eastern townships. Now, some of these are really old, probably indigenous, but others are fairly recent. So, what your readers or could do is to think about their indigenous crops of their area. For example, I've got one plant now that comes from the Beauce, Beauce. I don't know how that would be pronounced in French, but there is nothing else that's known about that whole area, in between Maine and Quebec City. And here's a seed that comes from there, and we've got 3 from up at Kamouraska now, way up in Maliseet territory at the lower St. Lawrence. And so one of the things that you can think about is take this concept and just expand it into, Old French. Or maybe even there's some of the loyalists that came up from the United States and brought some of their seeds and planted up here. there's a lot of other seed stories that if I wasn't so involved with Indigenous things, I would be really interested in studying that kind of Franco component of my heritage too, and start promoting those. And I believe that when you ordered those for me, I said that you could get some, and keep those for yourself. So I think you've got some of those that are from your area right there.
Oh, and when I ordered the woman that's wonderful farm, Heritage Harvest Seeds in Manitoba, she gave me a pack of Forme de Coeur, which is an old Quebec tomato. Like hundreds of years it's been in North America, and North America tomatoes, which I found out are from the Americas, but this one has been grown in Quebec and then was sort of stopped being grown, and she sent me the seeds, and I'm very grateful. I've grown out the plants, and I'm hopefully going to be able to save some seeds and then test out if they still can handle being here and get used to the territory. And I agree that it's important to look at the seeds that people have brought over and that have fared very well. But I particularly, my interest is also that as Europeans have come over and have not been given access to the histories and culture and spirit of the Indigenous people, we lose a big part of what it means to be born here. And so that's big reason why I've been so involved, is that it's part of, it may not be part of my blood history, but it's part of the history of where I'm born and the land that I've come from, because I don't really come from anywhere else. I was born in Montreal on unceded Mohawk territory. So I think that there's something to be said about the knowledge that we can learn about traditional agriculture, women's roles, and all of these really wonderful things that I've been so lucky and blessed that has been shared with me to be able to learn that. And unfortunately, we don't get this in schools, but hopefully, as we get smarter as humans, that's
well, one of the things is that what we're doing sooner or later will become, the school systems will become aware. At least in the United States, it's very what we call politically correct now, especially in the fall with harvest and things like that. Down here we have the Thanksgiving myth and stuff like that. So schools are very, very engaged now to try to decolonize these these holidays and things like that. So I think there's some great potential opportunities that your program, and of course Steve's, what he does, there's great opportunities in Quebec for this.
I hope so.
But it's going to take some important partnerships with actual tribes. And so, things are beginning to move with the Abenakis. I think the Hurons, the Wendat people up in Quebec City, have a very great latent interest for this. I think that they would possibly be a wonderful ally. And so, there's all kinds of opportunities.
Well, and it's not to remake the mistakes of the past, like you were saying in your old interview when you were working with the Abenaki people to get them recognized and recognition. One of the people in the community was like, "We're happy that you're not just gonna do the research and leave the community again." And I think that's what's important. It's just not just like, "Oh, hey, I'm gonna use this for some, get some seeds out of this, get a little bit of notoriety, get a little bit of knowledge, and then just walk away from it." It's these allies for life.
Right.
Hopefully.
Oh yeah, probably 20. Well, about 20% of what I do deals with the wider public. Most everything else is more internal.
Well, I my biggest hope this year when I put those seeds in the ground and when we do our workshop on the 4th is that people open their hearts and their minds to this, but that we also start, I am going to use another awful pun, but grow this, these seeds of relation, that we grow together as communities and can really learn and share from both of our knowledge that we've accumulated from our various communities. So I'd like to thank you for taking the time to speak to me, but also for trusting in the project that that we proposed, and taking that risk, and I'm very grateful, and I honor that relationship that that we have created.
Yeah, well, we've got a good ground floor now. The next thing is to start building it up a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. So we look forward to seeing you here in a couple of weeks, 2-3 weeks, or 4 weeks, something like that, in about a month, on the 4th of June, and hopefully I get to come down and see you a little bit before. But thank you for sharing, and I hope that we get to hear from you again soon.
Okay, we'll stay in touch. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Now.
Bye.